I don't know exactly why, but this morning while making coffee, I caught myself remembering a moment in my life when I tried to protect someone I loved and ended up losing almost everything. It's strange, you know? How love can turn into silence, and silence can turn into walls. Maybe that's why Emily's story always feels so close to mine. Maybe that's why I can't tell it without feeling that same tightness in my chest, that same trembling in my hands. Because Emily did something out of love, out of pure, desperate, selfless love. Yet the world judged her as if she'd committed the worst of sins. And honestly, I think that's what hurts most in life. Not the sacrifice, but the misunderstanding. Emily wasn't the kind of woman who needed the spotlight. She was the type who moved softly through a room, who listened more than she spoke, who noticed the small things others ignored. The kind of person who remembered birthdays, who sent messages at 2 a.m. because she sensed something was wrong, who defended the people she loved even when they weren't in the room. But that kindness came with a price. The world often expected her to carry more than she should, and Emily, with her heart stitched from gentleness, never said no. Growing up, she learned that love meant keeping others safe, even when no one offered the same in return. And that belief followed her into adulthood like a shadow. She met Marcus on a rainy Wednesday afternoon. The kind of day when the world seems washed clean and heavy at the same time. He bumped into her at a bookstore, dropped 2 novels on her feet, and laughed with that soft, crooked smile that made people trust him instantly. Marcus wasn't perfect. No one is. But he had a quiet warmth that matched Emily's softness. They fell into each other's lives like puzzle pieces, fitting exactly where the other had been missing something. She loved the way he held books like fragile secrets, and the way he leaned his head on her shoulder during late-night conversations. He loved the way she breathed life into everything, the way she widened his world without forcing anything. For a while, it felt like fate had finally done something right. But love, the real kind, the kind that digs deep, always brings something else with it. A fear of losing what you've finally found. Emily noticed small shifts before anyone else. Marcus started receiving strange messages, numbers he didn't recognize calling late at night, small hints that something wasn't right. He brushed them off, but Emily felt the cold edge of intuition press against her heart. She couldn't explain it. She just knew something dangerous was crawling toward him. And the thing about Emily is that she always listened to her intuition, even when it scared her. She began asking questions, connecting threads, looking into things Marcus refused to see. But in doing so, she accidentally opened a door she couldn't close. Her best friend Lena noticed her sudden tension and asked what was wrong. But Emily didn't know how to explain without revealing what she wasn't supposed to know. Lena, impulsive and fiery, interpreted her silence as distrust. "If you can't tell me, then something is off," Lena said one night, her voice sharp with hurt. Emily wanted to tell her everything, but she couldn't, not without risking Marcus. She swallowed her words and let Lena walk away. That was the first cut. Not deep enough to kill, but deep enough to scar. Emily told herself she could handle it. After all, she was doing the right thing, wasn't she? Then came Grace, Marcus's sister. Protective, rational, always suspicious of anything she couldn't control. When she noticed Emily acting differently, more guarded, more alert, Grace immediately assumed the worst. "You're hiding something," she said, narrowing her eyes. Emily insisted she wasn't, but her trembling voice betrayed her. Grace began watching her, questioning her, twisting her silence into something manipulative. Emily tried to ignore it, but Grace's words sank into Marcus's mind like needles. And even though he still loved Emily deeply, seeds of doubt began to take root. Emily felt them growing every time he hesitated before answering, every time he looked at her as if searching for a truth she couldn't reveal. The breaking point came when Daniel, a co-worker of Emily's who had always been friendly, but perhaps too friendly, noticed her distress. He asked if she needed help, if Marcus had done something to her, if she was scared. Emily told him no, that he didn't understand, but he took her trembling hands as something else. A sign. And all it took was one accidental moment. Daniel hugging her when she was crying in the parking lot, for everything to collapse. A single photograph, taken from the wrong angle, sent anonymously to Marcus. A single moment captured without context, just enough to twist the truth into something ugly. Emily had no idea the photo even existed, until it was too late. Marcus confronted her with eyes filled with hurt she couldn't bear to see. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked. "Why were you meeting him behind my back?" Emily felt her heart crack open. She tried to explain, but how do you explain something you can't prove? How do you reveal what you did out of love when the truth is tangled in things you can't say? Her voice faltered, her thoughts scattered, and in the silence between her words, Marcus saw betrayal instead of fear. Grace, standing behind him with crossed arms, whispered, "I told you. I warned you." And that was the second cut, the one that reached bone. Emily's world began to crumble. Lena stopped answering her phone. Grace started rumors that spread faster than the truth ever could. Marcus distanced himself emotionally, unsure whether to trust her or walk away. Emily spent nights awake, piecing together the danger she was trying to protect Marcus from. Something involving a man from Marcus's past, someone who had resurfaced with threats and intentions Marcus refused to acknowledge. Emily had discovered the connection, confronted the man, and begged him to leave Marcus alone. That confrontation, dark, risky, terrifying, was the real reason she had been acting strange. The real reason she had lied. The real reason she had been seen crying in Daniel's arms, who found her moments after the confrontation, shaking and barely breathing. But Emily couldn't tell Marcus any of that. If she did, the danger would double. She made a promise, a desperate promise, that she would handle it alone. And because of that promise, she watched the people she loved turn their backs on her. She stood in the middle of the storm, protecting everyone while being blamed for the thunder. Emily often wondered, alone in her small apartment at night, why love had chosen her heart to bruise so violently. Yet she kept going, kept hoping the truth would one day come out, kept believing that Marcus would remember who she really was. The night everything shattered, Marcus came to her door. His eyes were swollen, his voice tired, his body tense. "I can't do this anymore, Emily," he said, and she felt the air leave her lungs. She tried to speak, but he raised a hand, stopping her. "I don't know what's true anymore. Every time I ask, you hide something else. I can't fight your secrets." Her chest tightened, her hands shook, and she felt the weight of every unsaid truth pressing against her ribs. She whispered, "I'm doing this for you." But he shook his head with a kind of sadness she had never seen. "If it was for me, you would trust me enough to tell me." And that misunderstanding, so painfully wrong, was the final blow. Marcus left that night, leaving behind the scent of rain and regret. Emily collapsed to the floor, her body trembling, her breath coming in broken gasps. She pressed her hands to her face, trying to hold herself together. She wanted to scream, to tell him everything, to beg him to stay, but she knew she couldn't. Protecting him meant losing him. And that truth broke her more than anything else ever had. The rain outside hit the windows like small fists, echoing her heartbeat, echoing her fear. She curled up on the floor, trying to breathe through the ache, whispering to herself, "I did it out of love. Why can't they see that? Why can't anyone see that?" By midnight, Emily realized something chilling. She wasn't just misunderstood. She was alone in a battle no one knew she was fighting. And it was in that lonely, fragile moment that she understood the cruel irony of love. Sometimes loving someone meant destroying yourself to keep them safe. Sometimes loving meant silence. Sometimes loving meant letting go. She wiped her tears, stood slowly, and stared at herself in the mirror. Her reflection looked like a ghost, drained, hollow, exhausted. Yet in her eyes there was still a flicker of determination. A small flame refusing to die. Because Emily knew the danger wasn't gone. The man she confronted had made it clear. If Marcus discovered the truth, everything would collapse. She had bought time, nothing more. And even though she had lost Marcus, she couldn't let herself crumble. Not yet. Not until she was sure he was safe. She took a deep breath, wiped the smudged mascara from her cheeks, and whispered to her reflection, "You did the right thing. You did. Even if nobody sees it." But the words felt thin, almost transparent, lost in the silence of her apartment. The world outside seemed too quiet, too still, as if holding its breath. Emily knew things would get worse before they got better. She could feel it. Intuition had always been her silent companion, and now it whispered a warning she couldn't ignore. Something was coming. Something that would finally expose the truth. Something that would either save everything or burn it all down. And as she stood there with trembling hands and a bruised heart, she understood the painful truth. The people she loved wouldn't understand her until the storm exploded. That night, as Emily turned off the lights and sat alone in the dark, listening to the hum of the city through her window, she whispered into the quiet, "Maybe one day they'll know. Maybe one day they'll understand why I did it. Why I stayed silent." The words hung in the air like a fragile promise, and as the rain finally began to fade, Emily felt her heart growing heavier, knowing that the hardest part of her story, the part where everything breaks wide open, was still waiting just beyond the horizon. And that was the night Emily learned that sometimes, loving someone means losing them, even when all you're trying to do is save them. I always find it strange how life brings back memories at the exact moment we think we're finally moving on. Yesterday, while folding some laundry, something simple, something ordinary, I suddenly remembered a moment when I walked away from someone I loved deeply just to protect them. And I think that's why Emily's story still hits me so hard. Her silence, her fear, her sacrifice. All of it came from a place of love. But the world doesn't value silent love. It doesn't understand quiet strength. The truth is, Emily hadn't lost Marcus out of weakness. She lost him because she chose to keep him safe. And that choice would soon collide with consequences she never imagined. In the days after Marcus left, Emily felt like she was floating inside her own life, disconnected from everything familiar. She went to work, but the office lights felt too bright. She spoke to people, but her voice sounded distant. Her mind kept replaying the moment Marcus said he couldn't trust her anymore. She wondered if she should have yelled the truth at him, if she should have broken her promise and risked everything. But then she remembered the look in the dangerous man's eyes when he warned her, "If Marcus finds out, he will pay the price." That threat stuck to her ribs like a bruise. So she kept silent. Even in heartbreak, she kept silent. Daniel tried to check on her, but Emily pulled away. His presence alone had already created chaos, even if unintentionally. She didn't blame him, but she couldn't stand to be near him either. Everything reminded her of the unraveling. Lena didn't call. Grace acted as if Emily had never existed. And Marcus stayed away. The absence of everyone she once called her circle weighed on her chest like a stone. Yet, deep inside, Emily felt something shifting. A quiet sense that the truth wouldn't stay buried forever. Secrets always claw their way to the surface, especially when they come wrapped in fear. The first crack came 3 days later, when Emily received a message from an unknown number. "You should have stayed silent. Now he knows you were asking questions." Her heart slammed against her ribs. She tried calling back, but the number didn't exist anymore. Panic surged through her, invading her lungs like smoke. If Marcus had found out something he wasn't supposed to, if he had unknowingly attracted the attention of the man she warned, the consequences could be devastating. Emily grabbed her jacket and rushed out into the night, rain hitting her face like sharp needles. She didn't know where she was going. She only knew she had to find Marcus before the danger did. Her steps led her to his apartment, though she hesitated before knocking. What right did she have to show up like this? He had made it clear he didn't trust her, but her fear was stronger than her pride. When Marcus opened the door, his expression twisted into shock and confusion. Emily was drenched, trembling, breathless. "You shouldn't be here," he murmured, but his voice lacked the anger she expected. Instead, there was something softer beneath it, something like concern. Emily tried to speak, but her words tangled. She whispered, "You're not safe," and Marcus froze. The moment stretched between them, filled with unanswered questions. Marcus pulled her inside, closing the door quickly as if sealing the world out. He asked what she meant, but Emily struggled to explain without revealing the truth fully. "You need to trust me just this once," she begged, and Marcus's jaw tightened. "Emily, I wanted to," he said quietly, "but every time I tried, something pushed me away." She felt the sting of those words, the weight of them settling in her bones. But before she could respond, a loud bang echoed from outside. A sound like something falling or someone running. Marcus's eyes widened. Emily felt her pulse spike. They looked at each other, both sensing the same truth. Whatever she feared was no longer distant. It was already here. Marcus locked the door and stepped back, his breathing uneven. Emily felt the old terror climbing up her spine, but she forced herself to stay calm. She told Marcus everything she safely could. The strange messages, the warnings, the subtle threats she'd been receiving. She left out the confrontation, though, and the promise she had made. Marcus listened, confusion and regret flickering through his eyes. "Why didn't you tell me any of this?" he asked, his voice breaking a little. And for the first time, Emily felt the strength to look straight at him and say the truth. "Because you wouldn't have believed me. You already didn't." The room fell silent. Heavy. Honest. Suddenly, Marcus sat down on the couch, burying his face in his hands. Emily could see how deeply her absence had affected him. He murmured something she barely caught. "I thought I lost you because of something I did." She swallowed hard, feeling another fracture form in her heart. Before she could answer, his phone buzzed. He checked it, and his face drained of color. He handed her the screen. The message read, "You shouldn't have ignored the warnings. Time's up." Emily felt her stomach twist. She knew exactly what that meant, and she realized the truth she feared most. This wasn't just about Marcus anymore. The man now knew she had involved him emotionally, that their breakup hadn't stopped her from caring. Emily stood up and made a decision she hadn't been strong enough to make until that moment. She told Marcus he needed to leave town temporarily, just until she could fix things. Marcus stared at her, conflicted, his voice shaking when he said, "I'm not leaving you alone with this." But Emily's fear was stronger than any comfort he could offer. "Please," she whispered, "don't make this harder. If anything happens to you because of me, I'll never live again." Those words broke him. He could see she wasn't exaggerating, wasn't creating drama. There was something real and dangerous lurking around them, and Emily had been shouldering it alone for weeks. The next morning, Marcus made arrangements to stay with a distant cousin for a few days. He didn't argue. He didn't accuse. He simply watched Emily with a heart full of confusion, love, and regret. Grace, however, didn't take it well. When she found out Marcus was leaving, she stormed to Emily's apartment, accusing her of manipulating him again. Emily didn't fight back this time. She didn't have the energy. She simply said, "You'll understand soon." Grace scoffed and left, slamming the door so hard the frame shook. Emily stood there for a long while, her body trembling, her mind racing. She had never felt as alone as she did in that moment. But fate has a habit of revealing truths in the most unexpected ways. 2 days after Marcus left, Grace received a call from an unknown number. When she answered, expecting another spam message, a man's voice said, "Your brother got lucky. Next time he won't." Grace froze. Her suspicion shattered instantly, replaced by a terror Emily had felt for weeks. She ran to Emily's apartment, apologizing before Emily even opened the door. Grace told her everything, trembling. Emily didn't feel victorious. She didn't feel vindicated. She only felt heartbreak for how long she had been fighting alone. Grace sat beside her, tears falling freely. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, and Emily finally allowed herself to cry in someone's arms. That was the turning point. Grace, now aware of the danger, helped Emily gather evidence, track the source of the messages, and piece together the timeline. They discovered that the man threatening Marcus had once been involved in illegal activities with someone Marcus knew years before. A connection Marcus had unknowingly revived through a random favor he had done weeks earlier. Emily had been the first to notice, the first to connect the dots, the first to understand the danger, and the only one willing to carry it alone. With Grace's help, they took the information to the police, who had already been investigating similar threats around the city. Finally, the truth began to unfold. When Marcus learned everything, he drove back immediately, arriving at Emily's door with tears in his eyes. He apologized before she even opened her mouth, begging her to forgive him for doubting her, for walking away, for failing to see her fear. Emily listened quietly, her heart aching with both love and exhaustion. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft but steady. "I didn't need you to be perfect," she said. "I just needed you to believe in me." Marcus broke down, pulling her into his arms as if afraid she would disappear. And Emily, though still healing, let herself lean into him. Not because she was weak, but because she finally didn't have to carry everything alone. They talked for hours about what had happened, about what they feared, about how things had spiraled so fast. Marcus apologized again and again, but Emily didn't want his guilt. She wanted his understanding. And for the first time since the nightmare began, she felt seen. Truly seen. Grace joined them later, sitting beside Emily like a sister, holding her hand and promising never to doubt her again. It wasn't a perfect ending. There were still loose threads, lingering fears, memories that stung like fresh wounds. But the truth was out. The danger was being handled. And Emily felt something she hadn't felt in months. Safety. That night, as Emily sat by the window, watching the city lights flicker like stars pinned to the asphalt, she felt her heart settle. Marcus approached her quietly, wrapping his arms around her waist, resting his chin on her shoulder. "You saved my life," he whispered. Emily shook her head. "I just loved you," she said. But Marcus insisted. "No, you saved me." She closed her eyes, letting the warmth of his voice sink into her skin. For once, love didn't feel like a burden or a battlefield. It felt like breathing again. And Emily realized something. She hadn't lost Marcus. She had simply fought for him in a way no one else could have. As for me, I think that's the part of Emily's story that stays with me the most. The way she carried a truth too heavy for one heart. The way she kept loving even when love hurt. The way she chose silence not because she was weak but because she was brave. And I've done that too, loved quietly, loved deeply, loved in ways the world never understood. Maybe you have as well. Maybe that's why you're here listening. Maybe a part of you knows what it feels like to be misunderstood for the very thing you did to protect someone. In the end, Emily didn't regret her choices. She regretted only that no one saw her heart sooner. But eventually they did. Marcus did. Grace did. And Emily learned that sometimes, people only understand your silence after hearing the whole story. Sometimes love doesn't make sense until the danger passes. Sometimes loyalty looks like secrecy. And sometimes, doing something out of love means standing alone in the dark until the dawn finally arrives. She survived that night. Not because she was unbreakable, but because she refused to stop loving, even when the world punished her for it. In the quiet moments that followed, Emily realized something that changed her forever. Love is not about being understood. It's about choosing to show up, even when the world misreads your intentions. And maybe that's why her story resonates with so many of us. Because deep down, we all want someone to finally see the truth behind our silence. Someone who recognizes that our love, our messy, flawed, terrified love was real. Emily's truth eventually came out. And when it did, she found peace. Not because everything ended perfectly, but because she knew she had stayed loyal to her heart. And maybe that's the lesson hidden inside her story. Sometimes we do the right thing out of love, even when the world misunderstands us. But love, the true kind, always finds its way back, if not to the same person, then to a stronger version of ourselves. In the end, Emily didn't just save Marcus. She saved herself. And that, more than anything, is why her story deserves to be remembered.